Looks like we're underway, and we do see some bombs in both Link's House and Sanctuary. So that's a nice thing. You're always struggling for resources early in Entrance Shuffle because you kind of don't know where you're going to find them. So getting bombs right up off the top is really nice. We see Walther is doing a variation here on the Uncle route, which actually has a lot of value in Entrance Randomizer. One of the things you're looking for are these early drops because there's a lot of guaranteed item locations. And we see the bow there. And on Kyong's side, he checks the bomb entrance south of Link's house, finds the sword immediately. This is a really nice start for our runners.
Yeah, always good to find that first weapon right off the bat. Don't have to worry about that, where that's going to come from. Walter heading straight up into the Hyrule Castle territory. Now the runners, now Kyong is opting to do this fake flipper up to the potion shop, see what we can find up there, and potentially do a hula hand to get some rupees right off the bat.
Yeah, as I was saying, you don't have a lot of early resources in Entrance Shuffle most of the time. I mean, sometimes you just don't know where to find them. So this became a popular strategy sometime last year. Furame of the team name Furame will do an interview if we win. He actually is the one that came up with this meta, and you can see a lot of Entrance Shuffle players use it nowadays.
Walter immediately finding the bow in the lumberjack drop down. That was at the Uncle drop down vanilla location, but that bow was an important find, certainly. So, nice early start so far.
Yeah, it looks like he's coming right to that sword too, right away. So both of our runners getting that sword really quickly. And we see the Uncle tunnel here at what is normally the little fairy drop.
And first glove inside the secret passage, so Seed being very generous with items so far.
Yeah, gloves are a really nice item to find early in Entrance Shuffle in particular because there are a lot of just stray light world locations that are glove locked that you don't want to necessarily route to those areas to check the other entrances until you have that glove.
Following through with the hula hand glitch there to pick up those early rupees as Walter finds our entrance into the Thieves' Town. Of course, this early we'll only be able to check the front 4 chests, but definitely some good early finds here, and finds the big key to Turtle Rock.
Meanwhile, Kyong is heading over towards the Eastern Palace area. Nice early check. There are no restricted entrances over here, meaning that you can get in every single one. And he spots a Master Sword there on Lake Hylia Island.
So it looked like Walter took a death there in Thieves' Town, since he, wandered in with 3 hearts and only green mail, but will not take too long to duck back in and check these last 2 chests that we can find. He will find a 300 rupee stash, so he probably won't have to hula hand at this point.
Yeah, it's a really nice pickup. Sometimes those Zyzaks in Thieves' Town can just hide under those overpasses, and you just run right into them. You don't even know they're there. So that's definitely something that can happen with an early Thieves' Town dip here.
Kyong found his way into the exit of the Spectacle Rock Cave. Unfortunately, no way to get through there to a connection on the other end of the cave. That's something our runners are going to want to look out for. Since this is Crossworlds, the connector caves are very important for sort of getting you around the map and potentially getting you into Dark World. But that particular cave not going to be especially interesting as Walter scouts the red boomerang on the far side of the Spectacle Rock.
Yep, and Kyong has found Skull Woods at Eastern Palace, so this is a great find. It's a dungeon that really you just need a fire source to complete. You do logically need the fire rod, but with entrance shuffle. If you can get in here and you have the lamp, you can pretty easily sequence break to Mothula now that they have that sword. So something to keep in mind, a dungeon pretty much with no requirements here except for that fire source.
And Walter's using to sequence break fake flippers, which is a little bit less common in entrance randomizer from what we've seen. We'll check out right now.
Yeah, places that have an item have a little bit increased value, but not today with the hobo, just having a compass there. But Kyong does find the smith, though, all the way here at the Flute 5 location. So something to keep in mind for later.
Yeah, I was going to say the fake flipper value is a little bit decreased when you can't be sure that Waterfall Cave is going to have items in it. So it's not as useful, but Walter is also going to scout that Master Sword on the Hylia Island.
Yeah, and because of what you said, Zoro's Domain not as useful right now. Walther instead is just sequence breaking the island here. Just find some bombs, but it is a location that he can mark off and not have to come. So we do see that Sanctuary is at the Lumberjack location. Now that becomes interesting because the Back of Escape does have 3 items, and now they are blocked by either the Hyrule Castle small key or by doing Agate Tower. So one of those 2 options will be required to get the 3 items in the Back of Escape.
Yeah, and another thing we're going to want to keep track of is where all of these drop downs are, because by process of elimination, or possibly by finding it, we can find the Ganon fight. And meanwhile, in this vanilla Lost Woods hideout, we have found the hammer, which Kyong is going to pick up right now, and Walter will be close behind on.
Yeah, really nice finds here. They have the glove and the hammer already. Really just a moon pearl away from traditional Dark World access, not even really needing to find connector caves, which would be really nice if they can get that moon pearl.
Yeah, Dark World access is still really important in Cross Keys, because even though Dark World in other ways, a lot of times you're very, very restricted in which parts of the Dark World you can get to. So finding that hammer and glove early on are...
And Kyong here by the Vanilla Death Mountain Ascent Cave, getting Graveyard Ledge, getting some bombs, and finding the silver arrows. That goes really nicely with that early bow.
So yeah, our boss fights are certainly going to be fairly quick this game. And Walter finding the back of Hookshot Cave, bombing the door and then realizing he can't really do much in there at the moment. Again, that's another cave that can be used as a potential connector, but he's going to opt to check out a bit more of Kakariko Village right now before he follows that all the way down.
Kyong showing us that the glove-locked drop here is the fairy fountain. So running out of spots, we're looking for the well, we're looking for Ganon, and we're looking for the magic bat at least. That might be it at this point.
Bottle vendors telling us the Desert Palace Big Key as Walter checks out the drop down at the well of Vanilla Well, which means we're down to just mid where that Ganon fight could be. Normally in Cross Keys, and in this case, you have a Crystal's goal, so that you don't necessarily have to climb all of Ganon's tower and fight Agate 2. But if Ganon is still at the pyramid, then we're stuck doing that. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Really interesting. Plus, this is our second vanilla drop here. The last 2 drops both have a chance of being vanilla, and meanwhile, Walther finds a really nice item in the well there.
Yeah, we'll be able to activate the flute right away. Chat will be able to enjoy the Swag Duck National Anthem very soon as we find Mizzo in Kakariko Village. So finding several dungeons early on, this is important knowledge that our runners want to have.
And Kyong is now approaching Kakariko from the south, so some new checks for us. And we find Paradox Cave, which is a great cave, the most item locations in a single cave in the game. We got 7 here.
And also connection possibilities, since there are several exits out of this cave.
And very conveniently, Walther's finding out that the 5-6 crystals are Turtle Rock and Desert Palace, which he already has a big key to each of them, so he knows that both big keys he's found will be necessary.
So Turtle Rock required today. That means the Ice Rod hunt has already started. That was a big stumbling block in the race earlier today. We'll see how badly it goes this time around.
Walther did find Eastern Palace here in Kakariko, but elected not to go in quite yet. Eastern Palace is always an interesting find early on because you can get 4 items, but if you play a lot of entrance Key Sanity, man, it never seems to have anything if you find it early. Plus, he has the bow, so maybe he's just really hoping for that big key before he goes in.
Into the Dark World and is electing to do some bunny walking around. This can be required by the logic that you walk through the Dark World in bunny form and find some other entrances. So Kyong is going to scout around as Walter finds Desert Palace. We'll be able to check the big chest and at least scout out the first chest here and the whatever is on the torch.
Yeah, given that early big key, this is a nice find. This is also a connector. And hey, that hunt you just mentioned, already over for Walther anyway.
Commentator's Blessing, let me see if that works. Now the hookshot hunt is on.
Oh, and we see a big key on the torch there, so very likely that it's required, but that would be a good thing, because that might mean our boots will show up at some point here.
Alright, no hookshot. I guess the good news is I'm not a witch, so upside there. Walter also is going to get the opportunity to check out a couple of the extra exits here out of Desert Palace and see where those go.
I think Kyong just found it for us.
Right. A lot of experienced cross runners are a lot more checking out the information first, right? Trying to know where all your entrances and exits are, more so than items at the start of the game. And there was the back of Desert.
So we're finding a lot of early entrances. Now, unfortunately for Kyong, he has not talked to the bottle vendor yet, so very soon he will get that Desert Big Key, having just walked by that door, and probably won't be very happy about that.
And just a vanilla Magic Bat Cave.
Yeah. So we're looking at a vanilla Ganon. So we will see Ganon's Tower, and we will be looking for that Ganon's Tower big key, as well as the hookshot, some keys to climb, some fire, all that good stuff.
So, despite the best efforts of the Crystal's goal, we will be fighting Aga 2 today, and we find Pod also. All right, these just all the decisions right up front.
Yeah, and with the early hammer and bow, Walther can actually grab 5 items in here, even though he has none of the keys. That the hammer and the bow together do put the first 5 chests in logic. So if you're new to watching Entrance Shuffle, you'll notice our runners won't be checking the hint tiles. Current version of Entrance Randomizer does not have the hint tiles activated. That is in development for the future, however.
And Walter is coming up on these first two checks in Palace of Darkness that we are going to get to see. You also saw him going through the Hellway there. A quick swap is on by default for Cross Keys Seeds. I think entrance randomizer in general, so that is an option available to our runners, which will just speed things up on their race. Not typical for most modes of randomizer, though.
And Walther's taking a death warp here, or maybe that wasn't intentional. He can get to these other chests if he uses the hammer, but now he'd have to go all the way back through the right side. And I think it was a death warp, and now he realizes it was a mistake.
Can he get to those chests, though? Don't you have to bonk backwards across the gap to get to the arena ledge, or the arena bridge?
No, you can walk through the middle of the that arena and come out the other side through the push blocks and walk all the way around. It's a little bit of a
that's right.
Pain in the butt, but you certainly can do it. The one thing Walther has found, though, in Pod is the Hyrule Castle Small Key. We mentioned that off the top with the Lumberjack Cave Sanctuary location, but with that Small Key and the front of Escape here, Walther can actually sequence break back and go check the back of Escape if he wanted to. A little bit of tough with the Dark Room and only 3 hearts, so he might not elect to do that quite yet, but at least he does have that Small Key.
You can have some tools that'll help with that. With the sword and medallions, you can actually use that to light up some enemies and clear them out of your way, which definitely makes things a little bit easier in the dark rooms in the back.
Well, man, this just keeps on giving. We see the boots here in Hyrule Castle.
Well, gotta go fast, and those will certainly help with that.
So that's a great find for Walther, electing to take a death warp to get back to the front here. Kyong has not found anything of value yet in Eastern Palace, but he does have one more chest. It is behind the lamp, but especially, when you watch normal races, runners will definitely sequence break. If you watch Entrance Key Sandy, runners will constantly sequence break because otherwise you're just being really inefficient. So as you can see, Walther is just making a play, and he might make the play all the way to the back here. Now there is a nice setup for this dark room. If you bonk yourself against a torch from the bottom right, it actually puts you right in front of the chest. I don't know if Walther knows it, but that is a nice setup he could try to use. And Kyong did find the Ice Palace Big Key in the Vanilla Big Key chest in Eastern Palace, so that's always a good item to find before you dive into Ice Palace. And with the early sword and glove and Bombos medallion, actually, if they find ice, they can full clear. So it looks like Walther did get that sewer chest, and it had a Master Sword, based on some sword beams coming out here.
Yeah, it is up. Dip back in those dark rooms to avoid the Aga route to the back of Escape.
And meanwhile, Kyong is finishing up his Kakariko checks here. The
Another
one,
one of those entrances into desert, into back of desert, but with no fire source. That's not open quite yet.
yeah, the one thing that Kyong is missing that is really good for Walther is that bow from the drop in front of Hyrule Castle, which happens to be Lumberjack today.
So Walter is through to back of escape. We'll see if this long trek was worth it. Small key to Thieves' Town, sort of a fetch quest, but with the hammer, as soon as he finds the big chest, we'll be able to full clear the rest of that dungeon.
Yeah, that's always something you like to find before you have passed up that big chest. So great, potentially great find, and at the very least, it would be peace of mind later in the race, which is sometimes really important in entrance key sanity.
And we see the lack of bow catching up with Kyong there. Was not able to go into pod, so we are still left wondering what those first few chests in Palace of Darkness are. Kyong will definitely keep that high on his list for when he is better equipped to go back through there.
And meanwhile, Walther is cleaning up Paradox Cave here. The one item that Kyong has that's a pretty good advantage over Walther is that Power Glove that is at the Vanilla Fairy Drop location. It happens to be the Uncle Tunnel today.
That's the reason why so many runners like starting out with that fake flipper up toward the potion shop, just to clear out some of those little out-of-the-way checks early on, because if they come back to bite you, it can be a while before you get back to those sort of one-offs, and you're very close to them at the beginning of the race.
So this is interesting. What Kyong's electing to do here, he has not found the Hyrule Castle small key yet. Something that some runners will do if the back of escape is blocked by, say, Aga 1 or Aga 2, is steal the key from the second key guard here in the front of escape and use that to go to the back. So he is abandoning Zelda's cell, with, at least for the time being. There was nothing important there, and he's actually going to go to the back too. So he'll get his Master Sword here and also that Thieves' Town small key.
Well, Walter's starting to check out some boots locked locations, finding the front of, or the back of Bumper Cave, in the bonk rocks behind Link's house. Again, that could be useful as a connector once we find the cape and can actually get through there. Moonfall is still eluding us, though. So our runners can't really do anything in the Dark World if they find themselves there, due to the wonderful nature of Crossworld's Randomizer. So that's definitely the big thing on our list that's going to open up the seed pretty wide once we find it.
Yep, and Walter's taking the first step up to Death Mountain here, making use of that flute. Saw the little bomb farm hut here from normally in the southwest corner of Kakariko. Passed it up at first, but realized, hey, I only have 2 bombs, might as well grab a few while I'm here.
And we see the... Okay, I was about to say we see the exit of Spiral Cave, and here is the entrance.
It almost makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about entrance randomizer actually making sense, spatially. This makes me uncomfortable.
Looks like Kyong is checking the exits here of Hyrule Castle, finds that we find Vanilla Agina Cave at the left side. And unfortunately, Walther letting Death Mountain live up to its name there. Low hearts and those cabbages falling can always be a little bit dangerous. But luckily, he has the flute. He can get back there pretty easy.
I'm finding the Mimic Cave exit off of the top right side of Hyrule Castle, which will lead us to Tower of Hera, which you could take a death inside there, and that would respawn him in Link form, but that's not in logic, so he is opting to not even check that right now. Gonna check out a couple more entrances that we have back here in the castle first, I think.
Yeah, the problem with the bunny revival with Tower of Hera is there's nothing really there to kill you at the entrance. Those pegs block you in. If you have the mirror and you can super bunny, then you could potentially hit the switches with your sword and do it that way to get to something that can kill you. But it's yeah, it's not always an easy one to get a bunny revive in.
And not worth the effort for just the 2 checks that you're going to get out of that right now with... oh, he does have the basement key, but no fire source, so not a whole lot to be had in Tower of Hera at the moment anyway.
And he does find the dam here at Meyer Shed, but again, he has no real way of sequence breaking that without the mirror, and he doesn't have the pearl yet. So right now he's just scouting out things that he can come back to later for the most part. And just like the potion shop.
Yeah, so here's the frustration of this particular mode is you're finding all of these locations that you really want to visit, and you just can't get there in your normal form. You're stuck there as a bunny, so just something they'll have to come back to later after we find that moon pearl.
And Walther had found Aga Tower there on Death Mountain at the Spectacle Rock Cave stair entrance, but he only got a red rupee. Does not have the key for the second chest, so just leaving that item behind for now, and hopefully doesn't have to come back for it. But you never know.
And finds the old man cave right here at Spectacle Rock. So again, fairly easy sequence break to do this in the dark.
Yeah, and we saw earlier that this will actually give him a Kakariko saving quick point, and hey, that's a nice thing. So also fire locked, or lamp locked, I should say, the big key to these.
So Thieves Town is full clearable. Does not in that direction yet. If my notes are right, Thieves Town was at the dam.
It looks like he's coming here to pick up this big key that was on the torch. That's a good play. Get it while, you might be running into the dungeon in your route here. And it's the big key to mine. And they could get 5 of the 8 items in Meyer, so that's also a decent play right now.
Yeah, giving us access to Meyer to be able to bonk across that first gap. Not a pleasant place to be with green mail and 4 hearts, but definitely something our runners could think about. As Walter finds the exit from Ganon's tower there, out of the right side of Desert Palace.
And he finds Agina at Vanilla Spike Cave, but again, with no pearl, you're not going to be able to do too much there. And also Pyramid Fairy, so 3 items there on West Dark Death Mountain. Pretty high value to come back to as soon as they get that pearl.
Yeah, it's absolutely maddening to walk into that room and see those 2 chests that you just can't do anything about. Now Walter is headed down in the direction of the dam, which will lead him into Thieves Town, so we'll get the full clear of the back of that. We'll see our first dungeon cleared out here, I believe.
Yeah, all we know here is that we're not going to find the lamp. We could find just about anything else, though, so it will be a good clear, get it out of the way. Could be a crystal, maybe it's a pendant, but either way, you can get it fully cleared out and done and over with.
Muscle memory too strong for Walter there, forgetting that he had already checked all 4 of those chests and he didn't need to head back down again, but correcting himself.
Making it through the Hellway with no damage. That's a really nice way. He tried to get the God Pixel set up, and when it wasn't working, he just took a nice safe route, got through there. Very, very good adjustment. You see Kyong checking probably the worst connector in the game, and he gets a really useless exit out of it. So at least he knows. At least he knows that that's where that goes now, and he won't have to check it ever again this season.
Yeah, you sort of hope that you can just find an entrance that takes you directly where you want to go instead of having to, walk through 3 connectors to get there. But occasionally the logic will ask you to do that, so you do have to check them out. Crosskeys really rewards you being thorough with all of your checks, both entrances and items, so sometimes you just have to do unpleasant things.
Yep, and Kyong is picking up that Meyer big key as well. Walther has not found much of value here in the back of Thieves Town, but almost done, taking the maiden up and preparing for the blind fight. Kyong is also finding where that right desert exit leads and is actually electing to go over to East Dark Death Mountain, going through these Lionels as a bunny.
Ooh, that was nicely dodged there to get around those Lionels. We'll get a couple of cave entrances that he can take a look at. Walter, for our first boss fight for the day. Hopefully we'll stay on script with blind, looking good so far.
Yeah, I think
just missed that second swing.
So sword beams can ruin your input, your timings here, but man, Walther recovers nicely.
Ooh, and finds the mirror as his prize for defeating blind, and the blue pendant, but you can't be unhappy to find that mirror. Again, that's really valuable in cross keys because it will open up a lot of routing possibilities that if you find yourself in the dark world, you can usually find some new entrances, even if you are stuck as a bunny, as they are right now.
Yeah, exactly. Without having the pearl, the mirror can oftentimes be your route to getting the pearl. There are, as you mentioned, there's just many locations that mirror spots where you can get to as a bunny. Some of the big ones would be the top of the castle. If you walk all the way over to the pyramid and mirror on top, there's actually 3 entrances that Walther could get now that he has the Master Sword. You can still do like K45. You can do the left side of Race Game. There's a lot of just interesting connectors you can get to using that mirror.
And here we're going to see one Walther is going to come out this Ganon's Tower entrance and mirror, and that will get us into the Tower of Hera entrance. And with the hammer, he can get across to East Side Death Mountain and find lots of stuff there. Tower of Hera brings us into the Cave 45 cave with just a heart container, but lots to check for Walther up here.
Yeah, he has a ton of options. Really, just in general, finding that mirror. I'm not sure which Dark World connectors he has found yet. I know Kyong was in the Mire area, but that would be another good spot to get to. The one thing that is hurting Walther here, though, is not having that glove yet. He has not made his way to the Vanilla Fairy drop.
See a small key on the floating island. Walther is going to put that mirror to good use right now and get as many of these entrances. Mount this.
Oh, when we find the west entrance to Turtle Rock, Walther elects not to go any further for the time being. I think he'll probably go in there before he leaves this area, but maybe just wants to check these other entrances first.
Yeah, a lot of times it's good to just get all the information you can about the area before you get too sidetracked, especially if you might be able to find some items nearby that would help you in that dungeon before you try and dip through.
Yeah, exactly. Although he does have items that would make the Pokies pretty manageable. He does have the Bombos medallion and the sword. Even the Ether medallion plus the hammer makes Pokies a breeze to get past. So probably not scared of it, but probably just doing what you said, just making sure he's not leaving anything behind it before he goes in there. And this is really good. Walther is remembering the roller room. So with that big key, he can get to the roller room over here. No cane required, no hookshot required, just that left entrance.
Yeah, and then can work his way backwards. Probably will go as far as the Chain Chomp room with just the one small key, and can check Lava Chest if he wants to as well.
And he does find a Castle Tower small key, so he knows where that is. It would be a dark room for him to check that second item, but he might be comfortable with that. We'll have to see. And we do have Kyong coming in on his blind fight. Doesn't have those pesky sword beams to get in the way. Now this chest that Walther's checking here is actually not in logic until you get all 4 small keys. It's kind of a crazy thing, but they really want to make sure you can't lock yourself out with keys. So that is locked by 4. However, the next chest he's going to check, the Chain Chomp chest, is actually locked by 0 small keys. You don't need any to get in there.
Yeah, the keys aren't really his issue at this point. It's that pesky cane of Samaria that he doesn't have. So this will be the last chest he can actually get to from this entrance. Ooh, and takes a death from that Chain Chomp, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was rough. Kyong, meanwhile, has found Blindside here.
You're pretty much in Oko mode in Turtle Rock with the equipment that our runners currently have. Blind's Hut has a lot of heart pieces, but nothing of any real value.
Yeah, it's rare that a 5-item cave is so useless in entrance key sanity, but here we are.
Walter is taking us back to Hookshot Cave with the boots. We'll be able to do the bonk chest, and now we'll see where this connector goes.
Yeah, it is interesting to note that Walther noped out of that chest in Turtle Rock, so hopefully there isn't anything important there that he's leaving behind for now.
Ooh, he's the hover.
So I think Kyong was at this entrance before. He comes out at Swamp Palace. It does look like Walter's going to use his mirror, check the mirror spots. This is a great idea. Both Cave 45, left race game are in logic with the mirror. So given that, well, it's lamp locked, but I mean, come on. Who cares if anything's lamp locked, right?
Yeah, exactly. The reason the customizer only has one checkbox you can say for particular sequence breaks to allow, and it's allowed darkroom navigation as part of the logic. So it's something our runners are definitely very accustomed to.
So Walter does find an
into
item
the
cave.
C-shaped house. Yes, I was about to say, nothing too exciting in there, just a heart piece, but Kyong is going to scout out this waterfall cave, which has the brewery behind it. Can't get that item without the Moon Pearl, but good to know that it's there.
Ooh, we have a potential big find here for Walther. Sarhashala's hut at left side race game.
Another weird quirk of cross keys is what Walther just is the only way to go into that door in cross keys, but we see the green pennant is going to be in Ice Palace, but no particularly interesting items in the back of Saha's closet today.
Yeah, sometimes you can come out there, but the only way to go in the first place is definitely from the mirror. Walther is picking up this small key. Yeah, it's just from Misery Meyer.
We found a lot of fairly uninteresting small keys so far. Skullwoods, a couple of Misery Meyers. None of the really important small keys like your
So Kyong finished these down, got that mirror, remembered where he found Meyer, and is coming to check these entrances. Desert Palace, one of those entrances that you can mirror to the front of.
and leads into Swamp.
Yeah, we still need a few items before we can do Swamp. We know we need the Moon Pearl, actually, because the dam is locked by the Moon Pearl, and, of course, those flickers.
It appears Kyong has unfortunately put that portal a little bit too close to the door. Doesn't look like he can get back into it, so...
Yeah, he's going back around. That's it's a little bit unfortunate, but a little bit of a time loss. Walther, meanwhile, coming back to pod to check these chests in the front.
He does have the key now. I think he could get back into Dark Maze with a hammer yump. So he could put that big key to good use.
Yeah, he absolutely could. If he saves it, takes it to go to the back, he can get quite a few chests back there. Currently 6 if he manages to get all of them. Meanwhile, Kyong does find Ice Palace, and I mentioned it a little bit ago, he can full clear that dungeon. Probably is not his highest priority, but on the other hand, that's 8 items. So
Yeah, exactly. And again, weird quirks of key logic. None of these chests that Walther is going to look at are going to be in logic at this point. Was he opting for Helmasaur, in fact? It's
it
an
would
interesting
appear that
choice.
he's making the play on Helmasaur with his one key. I mean, it's knowledge as to whether or not this is a crystal or pendant. It's probably a little bit early to be making this play, but Walther might. I mean, Walther knows Kyong. Everybody knows Kyong. He might be looking to just make some plays here.
Yeah, Walther's definitely playing the logic to a certain extent here, because while he could get those items, since they wouldn't be in logic, they're not necessarily required at this point. So he's sort of hoping that they never will be, and he can just clear out Helmasaur right now and never come back to Pod. But we'll see how this play shakes out for him.
Yeah, and Kyong did not go back to ice before leaving the area, so that's an interesting play. There are 8 items there. It's not like it's an easy clear. He is on 4 hearts, green mail currently. He did super bunny himself a bottle out of the dam, but still not easy by any stretch.
And Walther making use of Bombos in this turtle room here. Looks like there's one turtle that he's still trying to chase around to finish off.
Nicely done.
Is in the run up to Helmasaur right now as Kyong is checking out some of the south side of Dark World. We'll probably head toward K45 here in a second using this portal.
A really nice fight from Walther. Did not take a hit in the Helmosaur fight, and he could have taken 1, but not 2. So it was very, very well done. It's a mushroom and a crystal.
That mushroom is certainly not in logic yet. We have seen the potion shop somewhere, so that's theoretically something you could turn in relatively quickly with the flute, but again, probably not a high priority.
And the one thing that we're really waiting on Walther to do is to get that glove. I think it would expand his routing quite a bit. He has a lot of loose ends right now. And as a reminder, it's up at the Vanilla Fairy drop. It's the drop that you normally see people do the hula hand setup.
Yeah, we see right there Walter trying to lift that rock before realizing that he can't without a glove. I guess that's another good reason why he might want to head up to that potion shop, because then you could just fake flipper over to the other side of the river there from there, and check out that typical Houlihan area.
Yeah, that would work out really nicely for him if he goes flutes, turns in that mushroom, and then does that check. So you'll notice that Kyong has a mirror, but he didn't Super Bunny Agina's cave. That's because the Super Bunny can't really do anything with bombs. It doesn't really work. So that is an item cave that you can't Super Bunny. However, this is one he can Super Bunny. So we expect to see him do that here.
So there's a bottle, since we just saw a sick kid a couple of minutes ago at that cave down by the desert palace, the desert area cache farming area. There could be a sick kid check fairly soon.
Yeah, and not only that, but with the blue mail, and that was actually his second bottle because he's Super Bunny to Red Goo as well. He might be feeling okay about Ice Palace at this point. He's pretty much in like a spoiler log race type of gear, so he should be good to go, I think.
So it looks like Walter will head around here and find his gloves just across the river.
Yeah, I think he knows that Kyong normally does his start, so he'll know that Kyong has had this glove for a while. But at the same time, Walther has made great progress without it. So, and we can see it from our perspective, they're not too much different right now. So even with that early glove, it didn't really seem to change things all that much.
Yeah, not a whole lot of difference between the two item-wise. Kyung just has the advantage of those silver arrows, which Walter might also pick up in just a few seconds here, since I believe they're at the Vanilla Death Mountain entrance that Walter is headed toward right now. So even that gap might close very soon. An entrance randomizer, it's sort of hard to keep track of who has what knowledge of which locations, so it's very difficult to keep track of where these racers are relative to each other at this point.
Yeah, I think the one area that Kyong has checked that Walther has not been to yet is that Meyer area. I don't think Walther came out of that connector quite yet. So that could be a big difference because we do know that Ice Palace is there. Now, Walther does not have that Ice Palace big key quite yet. Hopefully he ends up getting it before he gets to Ice Palace if he makes his way there.
I feel like Walter might have been in the Meyer area without the mirror, so couldn't do any of that super bunnying. Just sort of saw the entrances that were there. And we are going to see the silver arrow pick up here as Kyong dips into Turtle Rock, and we'll check out a few of these chests. Is opting to go backwards through Turtle Rock before heading forwards to the Crystal Roller Room using that big key, but sure, that'll make routing this much easier.
Looks like Walther did hold off on the Ice Rod Cave area until he found that glove, so no harm done there. All right, so we only found 300 bucks in that chain chomp chest. So Walther, luckily for him, didn't leave anything too important behind there.
I'm trying to think about what our likely progression is going to be at this point. That Ice Palace dip is still sort of looming for our runners, since that could be pretty much full cleared at this point. Again, would be very annoying. Without the hook shot, no small keys to help. We'll definitely see some bomb jump tech if they want to full clear that right now. But I'm not sure what other options are going to be more appealing to the runners at this point.
So it does look like Walther is finally making the backtrack on Eastern Palace, and just triggered my memory. This is where the Ice Palace big key is. So good news for Walther. He will get that big key. Bad news is that's all he'll get here, but maybe it will encourage him to make that Ice Palace dive when he does find Ice Palace.
Well, our runners are slowly creeping up to a reasonable heart total. Kyong is at 8 hearts and blue mail, which would definitely feel like enough to dip through Ice Palace for runners of this caliber.
But it does look like Kyong might be opting to do Meyer, but no, he faked us out there. There are 5 items they can get to in Meyer, but for the time being, Kyong is not doing that check.
Execution, Kyong taking advantage of that free spin speed there to run through Kakariko Village much faster. And it's instead to head back into Palace of Darkness with a couple of small keys now.
Okay, so Kyung's finally going to get his Hyrule Castle small key. Wonder if he'll backtrack to Zelda's cell or if he'll continue to, put that off. He might. He got the boots out of the front escape. You might think that's what the key was for, but at the same time, that looping location, knowing that this was available so early, I don't know. He might go back there sooner rather than later. So Kyong is back in pod though, and we'll have to see what he does with his small keys that he has. He could also like to kill Helmasaur if he really wanted to, but there are a lot of items in the back.
Yeah, with 2 keys and the Hammer Yump, you can pretty much clear out the entire back of pod, so I think that's going to be a lot more tempting for Kyong to do.
And Walther is not faking us out here. He is going into Meyer, making the dive here. 5 items, basically anything that's not fire locked or cane locked. So quite a few things here.
The seed logic is not always the most meaningful to these runners, but this does have the advantage that the Meyer stuff is in logic where the pod chests are not. Even though they're easy to get to with the keys that we have, the key logic will not assume that you can get there.
Walther now has 7 chests in here in total because he just found the lamp in his first check.
Clearly, the seed wanted you here fairly early on to get that lamp.
And of course, Kyong finds a vanilla small key for pod in the back of pod.
There are always more pod small keys in pod in Key Sanity.
Walther finds the powder, which opens up an additional check here in Kakariko once he's done with Meyer. Oh, and that's interesting. Kyong actually doesn't have the pod big key, but Walther...
Holy moly, the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, Walther's just cleaning up here in Misery Mire. Got the pearl, got the lamp. Meanwhile, Kyong now has his 3rd out of logic bottle. He's just trying to get the whole set out of logic, it looks like.
Ooh, looked like Kyong was heading toward the Ice Palace entrance there, but checking out Bonk Rocks. No, sorry, that's not Ice Palace. That was Ice Palace earlier today. I'm confused.
They all seem to run together eventually, but yeah, Kyong finds the Pond of Happiness, but elects not to buy an upgrade. We did see Walther buy one of each. He had some excess rupees and decided to go ahead, increase his resources. Something that a lot of players do like to do in entrance because, hey, you're just going to enter it anyway at some point normally.
Yeah, no one ever complained about having too many bombs. That's going to be a tilter for Kyong. Now finding that pod big key, and we see a couple rage slashes there.
Yeah, so Walther leaving Meyer has really a ton of options available. He has the traditional Dark World access, the connectors he's already checked that leads him to the Dark World. He's just, the world's his oyster right now. And with that fire source, he says, I like to do dungeons. I already have 2 done, and I'm going to do another one. And that's a great choice. He's just going to come and finish off Desert while he's here.
Especially with Desert being one of those 5-6 crystals, and we do know where the big bomb shop is. So a little added value here, although it's going to be a bit before we can get through Turtle Rock to finish off our second 5-6 crystal. Rod out for this Landmo fight.
That's a pretty tricky weapon to use. Okay, now he's pulling out the bow. I guess he didn't get the silvers yet. I could have sworn I saw him pick them up, but they're not showing up. So
I'm confused. I thought he had them as well. Have they gotten turned off? Oh, the cane is on Lanmo. So that lamp was a huge find to unlock the Landmolus fight and get our red cane. So maybe that Turtle Rock is a little bit closer to being clearable than I thought it was.
yeah, and given Walther's, desire to clear dungeons, that just opened up another dungeon. He just left, and he might be going right back there.
Yeah, we can finish off Meyer right now. We're just the fire rod away from being able to poke Krynek. I believe he should still have one small key left, which we could use to. Oh no, he needs 2 small keys. Sorry, to get to Trinex from the entrances we have. But Vitreous is definitely an option, and he has turned silver arrows back on. Oh, is this a weird quick swap thing that he somehow selected regular arrows instead of silvers?
He may have accidentally turned them off, or maybe on purpose for lag purposes. But yeah, if you hit L and R at the same time, you actually can swap between items that you would normally hit Y on the menu. So you can switch from silvers to non-silvers, or from shovel to flute, or things like that.
Yeah, that might have been what had happened then. I actually have never used quick swap, so today I learned, I guess. What sort of felt like a slow start to the seed. Walther is creeping up on his 4th dungeon completion here, which might be a 3rd crystal. We have not seen the map for Misery Mire just yet, so we'll see what Vitreous drops.
Yeah, it's starting to pick up dungeons rather quickly here. Oh, it is a pendant, so unfortunately not a crystal, but what that does give Walther is knowledge of what all the crystals are.
Yeah, so that would give us now total information about where all those crystals are. We could track what exactly we're going to need for go mode. Of course, we're going to need that fire rod and hook shot. Let's see, a couple of big keys from the looks of things. Probably another Turtle Rock small key or 2. We got a fair ways to go yet.
Yeah, that Swamp Small Key and the flippers as well. So somewhere around 6 to 8 items, depending on how things play out. Maybe some more small keys. Kyong will probably need more because of that. He has not used a pod small key for Helmasaur quite yet.
So Walter is heading back into the Palace of Darkness area, and I think he will probably use the mirror to get to the Eastern Palace entrance, which leads us into the back of Skull Woods. which he now could clear using the lamp as a fire source and a bomb jump to the back torch in that Gibdo hallway.
Yep, and meanwhile, Kyong is checking Village of Outcasts. Now, interestingly, he did not make that immediate play on Desert, which his next two entrances he found in the Dark World were both items that he could get with the cane. So it's a rather interesting turn of events here, but he is mirroring, so maybe that cane is not that far away.
This is our Desert entrance to the back, so definitely making a good choice there that will get him some valuable progression.
And we do see Walther making that play on Skull Woods and making good use of that nice vulnerability Giddas have. They're completely vulnerable to silver arrows, die in one hit, and it's kind of interesting because if you try to use regular arrows, it's just not going to do anything to them.
The sequence break you rarely get to see, since in non-entrance randomizer modes you can't even get to this room without the fire rod, but this bomb jump only used in entrance rando.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Basically, all you have to do is back up to that wall. You don't even have to do a sword spin or anything if you don't want to. You just go to the wall and you walk over to the side and you're perfectly set up for it.
On getting his first crystal, and importantly that cane of Samaria as well.
So I think Kyong did a quick hop there and overshot the cave. That's something that can happen.
Has been prioritizing those dungeons that we can finish. Let's see if that leads him into Ice Palace anytime soon. Or if he decides to take that spiffy new red cane back into Turtle Rock, see what else we can find up there.
It just occurred to me that with everything we've got, and knowledge that Ice Palace is clearable, that pedestal is already in logic. We're probably only like halfway through the seed, and the pedestal could also already be rushed if our runners wanted to do that. I guess technically they would need one more small key for Ice Palace, but I mean...
Yeah, logic hasn't slowed our runners down at all so far, so...
Kyong making that similar play to Walther. Got that cane of Samaria. Got one item location left in this dungeon. Let's go clear it, see what it is. Unfortunately, it is a pendant, but at least you get that knowledge out of the way.
Making this dual check, we see the Uncle Bombs on the pyramid ledge, but again, this mirror spot to the top of Hyrule Castle opens up 3 potential entrances, which might be interesting.
Oh, we find Spike Cave. Unfortunately, Walther doesn't really have a way to do that right now. He doesn't have an invincibility item, nor does he have the bottles that Kyong has to sequence break it.
And the single rupee in the back of the chicken house there. So not a lot of value in those top of Hyrule Castle checks for Walter, as Kyong is also going to head into this victorious fight with the silver arrows, so no real concerns there.
I do like what Walther is doing here. There are some guaranteed item locations in the Dark World. Two of them are Pyramid and Catfish, and he's getting those out of the way early. And also, there's just a lot of entrances along this route, so getting them done, great idea to start out with here.
Kyong finding the best entrance to Turtle Rock at Vanilla Thieves Town. Unfortunately, nothing interesting in that big chest. I don't know what it is through that particular entrance. Oh, and there's the fire rod on Catfish.
That is a great find for Walther. He can, if he finds Laser Bridge or enough small keys to get to the back, he can just keep his dungeon streak going now. Get that Turtle Rock out of the way.
I'm sure that's absolutely on his mind right now.
And Kyong, man, this is like the third or fourth time this has happened. He's going to a location like without that one item he would need to make it like fully cleared. So he's not going to be able to check the back of Skull Woods while he's over here, which could end up being a little bit of a time loss later.
Yeah, depending on where that entrance leads, if it turns out to be important. We do have the big chest, which we can open up right now. Just a heart container. Of course, in Cross Keys, the Skull Woods entrances back here in the woods are sort of shuffled among themselves, since otherwise it would be almost impossible to navigate through if they were all over the place.
Yeah, that's pretty much just Insanity Shuffle that will do that. Otherwise, they're just right here. And Kyong is finding that nice Ganon's Tower big key. We actually do need this, even though it's Crossworld Key Sanity, with the Crystal's Goal, because Ganon is vanilla.
Ganon's Tower also is probably the best source of items that we have not found yet. Well, it's the best source of items in the whole game in Cross Keys, but yeah, we have not seen GT at all, so Kyong does have a couple of small keys as well, so would be able to clear out a whole lot of the basement if he stumbled across that entrance.
Yeah, and with the boots, the sequence break for the left side is actually pretty easy. You pretty much just need to do a couple bomb jumps, and then the rest you can bonk. So pretty easy to just full clear the basement, really. I wouldn't expect to see them climb without the hook shot, because I do not believe Kyong knows how to hover. I know Walther's been practicing, but that hookshot cave hover did not go well, so we'll have to see.
So Kyong is going to head to... Oh, nope, I was going to say he's going to head to the right. He's going to check out this weird little house down here, which will normally sell you a red shield and some other stuff in the vanilla game. But can check out a couple entrances. Meanwhile, Walter finds Ganon's Tower, as Kyong finds Mini Moldorm Cave. So a couple of good item locations our runner's finding right here. See, mitts on the torch in Ganon's Tower. Was that actually the back of Skull Woods entrance that led into GT?
It sure was. So Kyong has completely isolated Ganon's Tower at this point.
Oh, that's absolutely brutal for Kyong then.
So do you see Walther doing tile room here? In the normal modes, you don't see tile room checked very often, but in Entrance Key Sanity, man, it's one of your earlier checks. As long as you have that Cane of Samaria and you know where Gan's Tower is, you're going to check this location every time.
Yeah, and the fact that Walter is doing tile rooms suggests that he's pretty committed to full clearing this, but he has not found the Ganon's Tower Big Key yet. He didn't do all of Skull Woods first, so if he does clear out everything but the big chest, he might be a little bit hesitant to dip back in just to check that one location.
Yeah, this is a little bit unfortunate given that we know the GT Big Key is like right next door, but he is going to be going all the way to the bottom here most likely, and that might not work out for him. But what does work out is finding the big key to Tower of Hera, one of the big keys that we need. So starting to check off that list.
Yeah, his first bottle, choosing not to go full right. So that does suggest he is going to sequence break this full left side and get to Armos that way, if I had to guess.
Yeah, so pretty much the first item he's going to find after he leaves here is going to be the GT Big Key. So this happened to Kyong a few times this seed so far, and it's going to be happening to Walther fairly soon.
Yeah, the key situation is going to be difficult for Walter here. Finding another big key to Eastern Palace, which is nice, but he does only have the one small key, so he's going to have to be a little bit careful with those.
Yeah, what he can do is skip the map room. That's just one item, and he will still be able to get all the way to the end. He'll just have to leave that item behind. Maybe that would be good news. Maybe he would be more likely to come back when he has that small key just to check the big chest as well. But I expect him to continue on given the way he's routed this.
So much in Rando Room and Ice Armos that you would be trading for just that one check in Double Firebar Room that it really wouldn't make any sense to do.
Yeah, he didn't even walk over to the right side of the room. Now, obviously, it was still faster because he was on the left side already, but I think part of him was just like, I am not going to accidentally spend this key. We're not going to do that.
So, second bomb jump, and now smooth sailing to the rest of Ice Armos, especially with silver arrows. So we got 8 chests left to do with Rando Room, Bob, and behind Ice Armos.
Yeah, unfortunately for the viewers, we're going to have a very normal Ice Armos today. We have the bow and silver arrows, so no exciting Ice Armos fights, which you can sometimes see in Entrance Key Sanity.
Find the blue cane, which is the most fun Ice Armos fight that I've seen, but no such luck this time.
Yep, and Kyong is doubling back for the chest in Zelda's cell. It's a good choice. There's nothing here important, but it does cross off a location that is pretty isolated. That it's never going to be any faster for him to do this. So if he wants to do it, he will have it out of the way.
Very clean Ice Armos fight. Oh, leading to the flippers. And a pod small key.
Yeah, I mean, Walther found 3 of the remaining required items in his clear of Ganon's Tower. Not a huge surprise, but it's still really nice. And a few minutes ago, it just seems that we were talking about, oh, they still need a ton of items, but Walther is down to just a handful.
Yeah, just a couple of keys now, and that hook shot is about all that he will be looking for go mode.
Yep, he needs the Swamp Small Key for sure, and then he would need to find either Laser Bridge or an additional Turtle Rock Small Key, and that hook shot, and that might be it for him. So that's actually really, really close at this. And of course, that GT Big Key, he will need one GT Small Key on top of that.
GT keys, there is the big key for Walther.
Yep, so I'm sure he's not very happy about that, but I don't expect him to rush back. Maybe if he finds some extra GT small keys, he'll route that back in, but he has so much in front of him that at this point he's just going to leave that.
Yeah, so those flippers definitely open up Swamp as a possibility. Can't full clear it without the hook shot. I seem to recall there was an item of some sort in the waterfall ferry that we could not get to when our runners were there before. Flippers will make that much easier to do. Yeah, I'm not sure if we've actually found the dam yet to be able to open up Swamp Palace.
Yeah, I think the dam was Vanilla Mire Shed. Kyong actually super bunnied it, so Kyong could go if he found the flippers, but unfortunately, I don't think Walther has found that yet, however.
Mire area is definitely something that's going to be on his list now, since he picked up those mitts off of the torch in Ganon's Tower. That's much easier to get into that area directly, the vanilla way.
Yeah, whether or not he found the connector to get there, now it doesn't really matter. He can get there, check all those entrances just by fluting over and lifting the rock like normal. And now, while Walther is taking time to check entrances, given that he still has dungeons and the dam to find, he does have dungeons to clear too. He knows where Eastern Palace is, so that will be an option when he's routing around here in the Dark World. I do not believe, however, that he's found Tower of Hera yet, although I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember if Walter found it and got stuck in it in bunny mode, or if that was Kyong who did that. But meanwhile, finding a Super Bunny Cave here at the King's Tomb entrance. So a couple of chests and a connector.
Yep, and Kyong does pick up that Skullwoods crystal, so Walther still has that pod crystal advantage, but Kyong is right behind him, and Kyong has also searched a lot of the world, so it's not like Walther is that far ahead. So Kyong probably is also going to get that fire rod before too long here.
And finding an item about 2 minutes after it would have been super useful, as Walter picks up another Ganon's Tower small key.
All right, so Walther is continuing his dungeon prioritization. Going to finish off Eastern Palace now that he's found that Eastern Palace big key out of Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, hard to argue with this play. He knows it's a crystal. It's never going to get any faster than this. So clear this out right now. See if you get any added information from the Armos item.
And Kyong checking Spike Cave for us, only getting 3 bombs. That would be a location that Walther would have to backtrack to. Now, Kyong did do this check with the bottle sequence break, and he can't actually get out, so it kind of breaks his route right before getting the fire rod. I expect him to pick it right back up, but that's a little bit unfortunate.
Walter's second Armos fight at the last 5 minutes goes about as fast as the first one did. Compass of Swamp Palace, so nothing item-wise, but another crystal. We are down to Hera, Swamp, and Turtle Rock before Walter can head towards Ganon.
Yep, and also that Ganon's Tower climb, which he would probably prefer to keep that for last, given that Ganon's vanilla, but hey, Swamp Small Key, even the hook shot could be up there. You never know. And Walther finds one of his need-to-find locations, being the dam at Myershed. So I believe he still needs to find Tower of Hera and potentially Swamp Palace here, but he'll find that momentarily.
Yeah, there's plenty to check over here in the Mire Desert area once you have the mirror. And yeah, here is that chest game. I don't think we saw this before either. Oh, a Pod Small. Yes, we did see that one, I think.
I believe Kyong got that one for us.
Desert Palace entrance I was thinking of, which led us to Swamp.
Kyong picking up his fire rod from Catfish here. Took a little second to go grab it, so probably a little bit surprised to find it here. Meanwhile, Walther is finding Hype Cave here, getting that Ganon's Tower small key.
Walter being there for a second, but will head across to look at this first chest with just 3 bombs.
So we see Kyong immediately taking that fire rod to the front of Turtle Rock. He does have 3 chests to check here. Walther finds Ice Palace. He knows he can full clear it, but he also knows it's a pendant. Now, being the green pendant and being that he already has the other 2 pendants, it actually would be worth 10 items if he decided to clear.
Yeah, we'll see if he heads back in there after checking everything else he can grab in this mire area. Even if he doesn't go there now, it'll be fairly easy to get back to. Again, now that he has the mitts, doesn't have to worry about taking weird connectors to get there, so...
And we do see Kyong pick up half magic in the front of Turtle Rock. Oh, and we see Walther get the hook shot from Sick Kid. Wow.
So 200 IQ from Walter there, remembering that was where Sick Kid was, and that he finally has a bottle to go get that hook shot. Sort of surprised he did not head straight back to Swamp Palace, but he has better ideas. Maybe he's going to do the rest of Ganon's Tower right now, since you're going to have to do that eventually, and that could possibly put you in go mode for the last couple of dungeons.
Yeah, he needs that Swamp Small Key to go to Swamp, but I was thinking he was going to do the Ganon's Tower climb like you said, but looks like he does have other ideas yet again.
Yeah, that pesky Swamp Small Key, but let's see where he is headed right now.
Right now, he just needs that Swamp Small Key, and then either finding the Laser Bridge entrance to Turtle Rock or another Turtle Rock Small Key. And I think he also needs to find Tower of Hera, which Kyong has found, but given that Walther is prioritizing entrance checks right now, I think he probably has not yet found.
Did Kyong find the laser bridge entrance? Is that a vanilla laser bridge?
Yeah, it would appear so. So that means he definitely needs two Turtle Rock Small Keys in total at least to be able to clear that dungeon.
Yeah, so Kyong did clear out the rest of Turtle Rock the normal way, it appears, and found his way back to Laser Bridge there. So yeah, that definitely limits Walter's options for being able to get to Trinex. He's going to pick up his Tempered Sword right now. And might be doing one last mitts check, seeing what the vanilla Ice Palace entrance leads us to.
So it looks like Walther might be going back to Ganon's Tower now. He fooled us once before, but this might be the real deal. Meanwhile, Kyong does find Hype Cave at Mire and gets another Ganon's Tower small key.
So Walter looks like he has a pretty decent advantage at this point, but he is definitely, with this routing, opting to skip the Firebar room and probably the GT Big Chest as well. So if there turns out to be something really interesting in there, that would be a huge swing in momentum, but Walter is betting against that happening at this point.
Yeah, and on Kyong's side, he's making that dive into Ice Palace. So we mentioned there's 10 items he can grab here. There aren't too many items that could be here, but that Swamp Small Key is really important. So that could flip the match a little bit here.
Oh, interesting. Walther is going for that GT big chest and the firebar room, so not opting to climb GT right now, although he could.
Yeah, it would be interesting. He could opt to stop at the map room, the firebar room, if he wanted to, but yeah, we'll have to see what he does here. And it looks like he's still gonna nope out on the big chest, so that's a big unknown right now.
Wait, I guess he had one more GT small key than I thought he did, because he's still got one left for the climb. So, alright, that definitely makes sense then. Is still taking the gamble of not checking the big chest, but the firebar room I think is definitely worth that one last check.
So the one unfortunate thing on Kyong's side is he has no Ice Palace small keys. Having at least one makes your routing much smoother in this dungeon, especially since he doesn't have hook shot. He's going to be doing a lot of bomb jumps and a lot of extra room transitions just trying to get all the chests in.
First of the slightly unusual bomb jumps here to get through this hookshot locked room. Was bunny hopping away from Walter over on the Ganon's Tower side of things, but getting through the gauntlet pretty easily.
A little tough time on Lambo too, but gets the job done. Meanwhile, Kyong still looking for anything for progression here in Ice Palace. Not yet. Found a heart container, which is nice, but nothing for progression quite yet.
Showing off the nice staircase clip there in Ice Palace.
Yeah, and on Walter's side, he got 1.0'd there. He got knocked off, and then he took damage while he was falling. So opts to use the potion to get himself topped off. Probably a really good idea. Kyong, meanwhile, small key to Turtle Rock. We know we need at least one of those, one additional one, and Kyong has it. So that's a great find for him. Well, that's a huge find there for Walther. He's got the Swamp Palace small key. So he is just one Turtle Rock small key from go mode at this point, and finding the Tower of Hera.
Yeah, and that's why you make this Ganon's Tower plays, because those are basically free checks. You're going to have to make this climb sooner or later, so get that information as soon as you can, because now that opens up Swamp Palace, and he hopefully will not have to make this ice dip that Kyong is making right now.
Motorhome 2 is giving Walther a little bit of trouble here. Unfortunately, taking 2 faults now. Maybe we'll try to pull out the hover here just to avoid this guy. Maybe not, but we can hope.
Yeah, Moldorm definitely not cooperating today. Clearly, Moldorm wants to see Faraime do an interview. I think that's what it comes down to.
And Kyong has finished Ice Palace. Got that second Turtle Rock small key, but not much else so far. Also picking up his hook shot. And immediately taking the hookshot to hookshot cave. This is something we haven't seen yet.
So we should say that Walter is more or less in spectator no mode at this point. We know where he has to go to get that Turtle Rock small key, or one place he could go to get that Turtle Rock small key, I guess. He might find one that's a little bit more convenient than in Ice Palace. He can clear Swamp and Tower of Hera once he finds it, and we'll just need to track down one more Turtle Rock key.
Yeah, I would suspect that his first play might be to just go back to Swamp and clear it with skipping the left side, hoping to find that small key, but we'll have to see. Doesn't look like that's what's exactly on his mind right now because Swamp is in the mire area, so making a different choice here. Maybe still looking for Tower of Hera. Tower of Hera is on the other side of the Turtle Rock Bridge. Meanwhile, Kyong does find Ganon's Tower here. Now he's coming in here with basically everything he needs to full clear it, so I fully expect him to. And with Kyong here and Ganon's Tower, it's actually going to end up being a very close race, I think. Because Walther is still looking for Hera and also another Turtle Rock small key. Kyong does take a while to full clear Ganon's Tower, but when he finishes, he will be in go mode with all the knowledge he needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, we see Walter sort of still in exploration mode, right? This is his first trip to Village of Outcasts, so he is looking around for that Tower of Hera entrance. And so who knows how long it's going to be until he finds that.
Yeah, he needs to find the Turtle Rock Bridge, and I don't remember how we connected to that before.
a fair bit of time since Kyong has all of GT basement to clear. As Kyong does find the first of the big keys that Ganon's tower has hiding for us.
So yeah, this is going to be pretty exciting, I think. It's going to be pretty close when all is said and done. And Walther does still need to find another Turtle Rock small key, although it seems more and more likely that there might be one in Swamp on his path here.
Primary and Tad is suggesting that it's a connector out of Hyrule Castle that would lead us up toward Tower of Hera, which, if that's the one exit that Walter hasn't checked in Hyrule Castle, once again, it might be a while before he thinks to go back there, especially if he has areas of the overworld with multiple entrances to check. This is definitely still anybody's race, although Walter does have a fair advantage right now.
So it does appear as if Walther is going back to finish off Swamp Palace. I don't expect him to get the full clear here.
And there are still 3. The book is in the Ganon's Tower big chest. Interesting. There are still 3 Turtle Rock small keys at large, as far as Walter knows. We saw one of them in Ice Palace, but definitely finding one here in Swamp would be huge for him.
Yeah, so that's why I expect him to skip the left side, because even if there is one over there, you almost have to think that there'd be an easier spot to get one. So Kyong forgetting to check Ped before he climbs here, but it's not going to matter because he will find the Swamp Small Key upstairs. But it's a little interesting tidbit here.
Well, it's going to be for that big key.
And we get a Sank card out of the big chest.
Overall, not surprising to see Walter skipping the left side here, but we'll still feel bad if he winds up dipping Ice Palace looking for a Turtle Rock small key as a result. And there is another Turtle Rock small key, so that should put Walter in go mode, unless we are missing something, but yeah. Walter certainly thinks he's in go mode, not even checking the waterfall chest.
Yeah, from his perspective, he's in go mode. He's seen the front of Turtle Rock, I believe, and he knows that that's Bombos. So, like, there's no entrance in the game that he cannot access right now. He's gotten. He knows he can make it all the way to Laser Bridge and to Trinex. He just knows he needs to find Tower of Hera, or basically he just needs to get to that Laser Bridge out of Hyrule Castle.
So a nice quick Argus fight from Walter there. Gets us up to 5 crystals now. As right about the time that Kyong finds that Swamp Palace small key. And that will put him in go mode as well.
Yeah, and he's also in entrance location knowledge go mode. So, but he does have a few dungeons to catch up on. Walther's has a little bit of time here, but that time is rapidly ticking away. So this is shaping up to be an exciting finish.
Does Kyong also need another Turtle Rock small key? Because he, I think, used one of his getting all the way back to Laser Bridge from the front of the dungeon. Or did he... I'm not sure what his key situation is actually 100% now.
I think he has enough. Meanwhile, Walther is going to finish off Turtle Rock. What he might be doing here is I expect him to check where Turtle Rock, the Laser Bridge exits out at. Maybe hoping to find Tower of Hera at a mirror location that he hasn't been to yet, but unfortunately that's just not going to work out for him.
Off the Aga 2 fight with a triple also.
So Tower of Hera is one of the entrances on Laser Bridge. You have to exit out of Hyrule Castle. Meanwhile, on Kyong's end, he is going to go pick up that sword.
That Walter's somehow never entered that fortune teller's hut north of the village of Outcasts. But, finds that entrance the back way there, and he's not even bothering to open the Laser Bridge chests. He is only looking for entrances at this point.
Placement of that cane block a little bit too good. It actually didn't hit the switch that it was directly on top of.
Kyong does have a key left, and his path to Laser Bridge is open, so he's got no worries about Turtle Rock small keys either. Trinex goes down, and Walter is just one elusive Tower of Hera entrance away from go mode. So at this point, we'll see how good Walter's notes are to know which entrances he has left to check.
Yeah, I think he's, getting down to it. Well, here's one he hasn't checked yet. This is a time cost to check, but if you play a lot of Entry Shuffle, you kind of get the meme that this is always where your last dungeon is, so I understand why he's doing it, but it will be a bit of a time investment here. Young with a really nice Trinex fight and gets his crystal. Now he is behind Pod, Swamp, and Eastern in go mode. So the good news is he gets to go mode. The bad news is that's still 3 dungeons that Walther has time to find Hera while Kyong is.
Walter made nice use of the fact that with the big bomb, you can start a dash right after you hookshot, and then dash with the big bomb. So he made very strong use of that in this case. Ducks into the Pyramid Fairy entrance, sees that it is not the Tower of Hera, and immediately ducks out. Doesn't care what it is.
Yeah, I think he might be heading to what we call the Dark World Shopping Mall. There's 3 entrances in the Dark Ice Rod Cave area. Hasn't been checked yet by either runner, I don't think, but we know it's not what he's looking for.
Yeah, it's only accessible by flippers, unless you find one of the caves that leads out into it. So definitely the most location-rich entrance area that we have left.
Yeah, definitely makes sense as the next location for him to check. It's just not gonna work out. So we'll have to see. Like the Hera location is certainly not convenient to get to. And just like that, Kyong is getting another dungeon down, picking up his 4th crystal here in Eastern Palace.
Yeah, so every second that Tower of Hera eludes Walter is time that Kyong is making up. So we will see if he gets enough. He's definitely going to burn through these last dungeons very quickly. So Walter is going to have to get a move on finding that Hera entrance if he wants to win this race.
Yeah, I didn't think Walther had done the North Dark World here yet. So there's a lot of entrances, one after another here, but again, it's just not going to be what he's looking for. So there's another connector that Walther has checked. He might be checking the vanilla Turtle Rock entrance. Oh, and the front of Hookshot Cave here. Again, where there's multiple entrances together, Walther is going there. It's just not what he needs.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track as spectators to this race because clearly none of us are tracking this as closely as Walter is. So hard to predict where he's going to go next and how long it's going to take him to actually get to that right entrance. Meanwhile, Kyong is on his second boss that he has managed to clear out very quickly while Walter is looking for his last dungeon entrance. So the gap is closing rapidly. Sort of a pseudo entrance randomizer high five there as Walter was walking into the library as Kyong was coming out that door.
So on Kyong's side, you see exactly what Walther has to do, which is go out the right side of Hyrule Castle and go across the bridge, and there is Tower of Hera. So hopefully Walther will be doing that same route very shortly.
Seems like at this point Walter might be double checking locations that he has probably been to before but did not take notes about. So he's just making sure he's not missing anything, but time keeps ticking away.
Yeah, I'm worried if Walther knows he hasn't checked the bridge, he knows that there has to be a way there. And then meanwhile, Kyong has evened up the crystal count. He still has Swamp Palace, which takes a while, but I mean this is it for Walther. He needs to find Hyrule Castle, and he needs to find it now.
He is going the right direction here because I think it's the brother's house that will lead him into Hyrule Castle. Breath, old Swagger Jackson fans.
Well, this is this is a really close race right now. Walther is in Tower of Hera. Kyong is at the beginning of Swamp. Walther has a shorter dungeon ahead of him, but Kyong has exceptional execution. This is going to be really close, guys.
Walter has already had some interesting times with Moldorm already this seed, and taking a quick fall down one floor right there. I would definitely take Hera over Swamp as my last dungeon to finish in this situation, but I also wouldn't mind being as good as Kyong is at this game. Well, I wouldn't mind being as good as Walter is at this game either, to be fair, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting race shaping up here. a good time to point out that it would be great to follow both of these great runners. They are always putting out great content and showing off some very high-level Legend of Zelda skills. So give both of them a follow. Walter not even risking sliding past that bumper this time around.
Yeah, meanwhile, Kyong has just torn through Swamp Palace, is only a couple rooms away from Argus himself.
Walter just barely getting off that first spin on Moldor and making quick work of that boss right as Kyong is coming into the Argus fight. So Walter will have a couple of minutes advantage, or about a minute advantage on this Ganon fight, which should be enough with Tempered Sword and Silver Arrows fall or on Ganon. Put Kyong right in this.
Yeah, Kyong just did that zero cycle Argus. So that was exceptionally fast Go Mode Swamp Palace. We have a Ganon fight. Walther should be the first one there, but Kyong is not that far behind.
Yeah, you were saying about Kyong's execution, and he definitely showed it there in that Argus fight.
Oh, Kyong is opting to take the Flute to 5 for that portal. This might actually be a bit faster.
Yeah, there's a connector cave that could get him up to, well, it's really connecting to the pyramid, though. But yeah, we'll see which route to the pyramid is faster. Holy moly, this is close. Yeah, what's the tie rule? 3 seconds?
Yeah, it's just within 2 seconds. So Walther is definitely coming up here first.
That Flute to 5 definitely bought Kyong some time, and they are just seconds apart dropping into the Ganon fight.
It looks like Walther's going for a 2-cycle phase 1, whereas Kyong was going for the 1 cycle but missed it, so it's still on top.
Kyong 8 strats.
Oh, but Walther missed the 1 phase 2nd cycle. Kyong got it. Kyong is taking the lead.
Oh, that just minor execution differences are going to put Kyong ahead.
Kyong setting up the silver arrow hits here right in the middle.
One into Ganon.
And that'll do it. Kyong has finished and raising his sword in triumph. Walther just a few seconds behind here.
Get your GG's in chat for Kyong. That was an incredible race, and there you saw the tragedy of entrance randomizer there. Walter had such a lead, but just that one elusive entrance that he couldn't quite track down in time, and Kyong clutching out a couple of very good boss fights at the end of the game to take this victory.
Yep, Kyong finished in first place with an official time of 2:14.57, and Walther right behind about 30 seconds later at 2:15.25. So very, very close race. We do have Kyong joining us. Today's winner, GG, Kyong.
Hey, thank you.
Boy, that was a rather exciting seed. What did you think of that one?
Oh man, I felt so bad for most of it. My brain wasn't processing what it should be doing very well there.
It seemed like there were maybe 4 or 5 times you got the item that you needed right after you were in the location.
Yeah, pretty much yes.
And also joining us is our runner-up today, Walther. GG.
Yo, what's up, guys? GG.
That's a really close one, Walther. What did you think of that?
I don't know. It felt really good for a while until I was in like almost go mode. I was like, I need one Turtok small key, or I knew I might need one Turtok small key. So it's just like starting to semi-go mode stuff, trying to get one of those, because I only had one Turtok big key at that point. And then I was like, oh, I found it. I just need to find Hera now. How hard can that possibly be?
Was that your last possible entrance?
I think so. I never found a connector up to Floating Island though, so I'm not sure where that was. I must have missed that connector
I
somewhere.
have not seen that one either. Probably it's locked.
Yeah, I think I checked all the mid stuff though.
Oh,
It could be GT
yeah,
locked.
I didn't.
Yeah, GT was desert though.
Oh, you're right. Maybe it was the bumper cave, because I don't think you guys got that one.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I got it, yeah.
I had all my entrances crossed off when I found Hera.
Maybe a super
so
bomb
I'm
then,
not
I
sure.
don't know. Or you did that as well.
Yeah, that was the first thing I did after Charge Rock. But yeah, it was it was apparently a pretty close one at the end, so at least that's nice.
Yeah, Walther, you had a pretty good item advantage, but that Hera, as you said, it was just looming for a while, and it just took you just a few seconds too long to find it.
Yeah, I know I kind of messed up quite a bit at the end and the mid game, and sometimes with the execution. Especially at the end, I was just like checking the IRC, and I was like, oh, he's not done yet. I might actually have a chance. It's just like shaking, and I was like, well,
It's the same. Oh man, I wasn't really happy, and I knew that there were so many points where I could have saved a big amount of time.
Yeah, Walther, you made the play into Meyer quite a bit earlier than Kyong, actually, and got that pearl, quite a bit early. And then your Dark World route, you started out with the route to Catfish, so things were just really going well there.
That kind of helped out a lot. Because that just made me find Ganon's Tower really early. Well, it's a fun game mode. I hope we get to see more of it being played by. Hopefully, this week is like piquing some interesting people to try and like get into the game mode.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites because it's sort of the most ridiculous thing you can do that people still take seriously. It's not a pure meme category, but it's still very wild. I love it.
So, Kyong, I'll start with you. Any additional thoughts you have on the seed, or anything else you would like to say with this great race we had here tonight?
And I just relived. That went okay, but yeah. GG's Walter, it was fun. And thank you guys for the restream.
And Walther, anything you want to add?
Yeah, for sure. GG's to Kyong, and I just second everything that he said. And I look forward for next week when my team needs to get 2 wins to get that playoff spot. So we'll just crush Falane's team, I guess. Gonna be easy peasy.
Yeah, we're coming up on one more week here, and I know Walther, old Swagga Jackson will be fighting for your third seed. So best of luck to you, and Kyong. I know you'll be fighting, doing the best you can to get that #1 seed. I think you need some help from the outside, though.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, but I believe that puts Team Shiraime will do an interview, and Team Awesome as guaranteed the top 2 seeds. And Old Swagga Jackson has a 2-point lead over last locationers going into the last week. So interesting fight for that 3rd seed.
Yeah, so once again, everybody, if you enjoyed this race, you enjoyed what you saw, go ahead and give these runners a follow. They both play exceptionally well. They're both very great at routing this game, and they play categories like this very well. So you won't regret giving them a follow. Also, I just want to say thank you for our tracker. It was I know we had a little issues with the tech setup at the beginning, but after that everything was smooth sailing, so thank you very much, Kono Tyran. And last but not least, thanks for the co-commentary, Cool Papa Bell. That was a lot of fun, and hope to hear more from you. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a great race. I had tons of fun. We should also say thank you to all of the viewers out there. Stay tuned to Speed Gaming for lots more great racing, randomizer and otherwise, and especially stay tuned to the Link to the Past League. A lot of great racing left in this inaugural season of the league.
And that will do it for us. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great evening.